Yes, and cars and coffee go together like YouTubers and backwards caps.
Well, it's a pretty funny story. My phone stopped recording and I was just talking to myself the whole way home, so that's pretty sick. But what I was saying was, last episode, where we left off, got the engine running. But couldn't have it running for too long because it's running off of the extractors. There was no lines hooked up to the transmission, all these little things. So this episode, we're getting it ready so I can run it up to temperature and see if there's anything majorly wrong with the engine, which means I've got to hook up thermo fans. I've got to mess around with a bit more wiring. I've got to hook up the transmission cooler lines because there was a large puddle of transmission fluid underneath the car last time. And most importantly, I need to get the exhaust on because in a little old neighborhood here, I don't think they appreciate the sound of a clevo running off extractors as much as you or I, especially for 20 minutes straight. Got to get the exhaust on. And when I say exhaust, you're not going to have, you won't be expecting the exhaust that I'm putting on it. So there's that. It's not going to sound good. I'm not saying it's going to sound awesome. It's probably going to sound like absolute trash, but it's going to be quiet. So that's the main thing. But we've just gotten home, so I've got my coffee. I'm ready to get into it. Now, I left Waffle in the garage, so hopefully Waffle hasn't touched anything. I know dogs can't really operate power tools, but she's a golden retriever. Hopefully she hasn't touched anything in the garage.
And it had to happen anyways. I'm getting a whole new quarter panel made up. As you can see, this old one is totally fried. Where they tried to put in the LTD light, or where they did put in the LTD light, that attempt at a patch panel, and just the rest of the panel everywhere was just rusted, it was just totally cooked. This panel relied on bog to get it by, as well as just the pitting around the fuel filler, shit condition. So she's come off. We're going to prep this up now. Whilst that's drying, hook up the transmission lines and we'll get on. And we'll get on with everything to get that engine running up to temperature at least, hopefully by the end of the day. Run the fuel lines to the fuel cell, so on and so forth. Now you might be wondering, where in the hell could I get a quarter panel for an XA Falcon Ute or any of the X-Series Falcon Utes? And no, it isn't new old stock that I'm paying an excessive amount of money for. Brand new panel, completely new, front to back. Completely new. The quarter panel king, Adam van der Linden in Adelaide, has said he's going to create for me a full quarter panel. He only does half quarter panels at the moment, but he wants to get into doing full ones. So I said, let's bloody do it. Let's get this full one going. So we've got a full one on its way in the near future. So I'm just preparing for that, getting that off, getting it ready so when it rocks up, I can just slap it straight on. So let's get the rust converter on there, get it primed up, get it coated. So the inside of that is all nice and shiny, and then we can kick on with the rest of it.
So the reason why I'm using a rust converter and not grinding it all back to bare steel and just using an etch primer over top of it is because now that I'm in my garage at home, grinding all that steel is just going to create so much dust, it's just going to get over everything. So rust converter it is.
All right, so that takes 2 hours to dry. As you can see, it's starting to go purple. It'll go to black, I presume. So while that dries, I'm going to jump under there and continue hooking up the transmission cooler lines. So here we have the trans cooler, and when I ordered it, I was a big idiot and I got barbed fittings despite wanting 6AN fittings. So we've got 6AN fittings on the transmission, and that'll just run to a barbed end. So it's like 120 bucks. I'm not going to spend another $120 to get one just for the fitting style of it. So we'll run with that. AN at one end, hose clamps at the other. This one I got here is the return line. So I was waiting on a fitting for the pressure line. So we'll run that now. I'll get this looking schmicko and all mounted up. So these are the fittings I'm putting on. Raceworks everything, although I've got a couple of Aeroflow depending on what these guys have in stock at the time. So female to male Raceworks 6AN90 currently on the return line. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a Raceworks 6AN female to female, then going into a male to male adapter, then into the hose end. I'll take it off so I can show you a little bit clearer, but we're replacing that with this. Cut out the middleman, make it a bit cleaner. So that's what was on there. Female to female into a male to male adapter. Change this to this. Cut out this. Use these elsewhere. Right, so that's bloody annoying. This is what I'm dealing with. In Perth, the weather is so trash at the moment that it just bucketed down with rain while I was under the car. It was raining sideways, like heavily. Like, it's soaked out there now, and now the sun's out. And whilst it was raining sideways, engine's all wet now, it's bloody water everywhere. So I tried putting a tarp to the front of the car and lowering the garage door down. And by the time I set all this up, or getting rained on and getting drenched, it stops raining and the sun comes out. So now, underneath the car is absolutely soaking wet. I love that. If you're wondering why the build's taking so long, it's little things like this. So I guess I'm gonna mop underneath the car, get back to doing that. All right, that's done. We've got pressure side and return side plumbed up. So let's get them running to the front. Hold that thought. It was blue skies about 5 minutes ago, so oh, it stopped raining. Of course, I happened to jack it up right underneath where the door closes, so I guess I should probably lower it back down now that I've done the transmission lines. I don't need it jacked up anymore. Roll it back, shut this down so we can just keep on going, getting on with it. While I get the car up, now's a good time to put the exhaust on. You may be wondering, what exhaust is that? That looks factory of some sorts. It's off a Y62 Patrol. A little hack, if you need exhaust piping, go on Marketplace and search for Y62 exhaust. There's not a human exists that owns a Y62 Patrol that hasn't put an aftermarket exhaust on it. So the factory 3-inch exhausts go for cheap as chips. And whilst I'm trying to run the engine up to temperature, it's being as quiet as possible as a bonus, because I don't want to piss everyone off in my neighbourhood with running a clevo for 20 minutes straight. So these massive mufflers should prove very handy in quietening down the clevo, so I can run it up to temperature and maintain positive relationships with everyone in the neighbourhood. So let's get that fitted to that. Alright, so here we have it. I've done a little bit of cutting, and that is basically what it is stock, minus the little bits on the end there. That's how wide it is stock. This is how wide it needs to be for the clevo. So in those two ends, slot in the extractors, Bob's your uncle. Except when I cut the extractors off the exhaust system they were on, cut them a little bit too short, so now there's like 2 inches that I need to make up for that to slot on without hitting pretty much everything under there. So in what I thought I would not need a welder for, and I would just be able to just slot these pipes in and just use a hammer to bend them into each other and get that roughly going. I need a welder because I need about 1 inch more pipe on each of those. So I don't have a welder. But it is tax time, so I do need to go and buy a welder before the end of the financial year. So I might go do that tomorrow. But for now, it's been sunshine the entire time I've been doing this. It's been sunny outside and it's just started raining again. I'm telling you, Perth weather is just at the moment. So I will let jack stands out, roll this under, shut this so the rain doesn't affect me, and we'll finish off the transcooler. Alright, so I've already got the clips in there for the thermo fans. I'm going to use this existing one for the bottom mount of this. I might have to take this thermo fan off to get the other ones, the other 3 in to hold this in front of the thermo fan, and then put the thermo fan on top. But that will put that pretty much there, and the lines can come up and do a little U-ey. Go straight on, hopefully. Theory.
So I already know people are going to be wondering why there's no radiator shroud and why the thermofans are just sitting there, because that's not actually doing too much. They're not going to be pulling much air without a shroud, and that's simply because I didn't get a shroud with the radiator. So I'll get one at a later date, but it's just not important to the build right now. So I'm getting other stuff that's a little bit more important, and that will come closer to the end.
All right. So transcooler's hooked up now, and I know there's a little bit kink on the return side, but I mean that just adds to the pressure, really, doesn't it? Now I'll sort that out. I might actually run this from outside here. Yeah, that should allow it. I know, I'll see how I go. I might be able to get some extra length, but it should be right for now. Whilst we're on the topic of the radiator situation, I need to get some rubber strips and put them between the upper mounts to really just make that a bit more secure, but also so it doesn't rub through. So I'm going to make those rubber mounts up, and if it looks like nothing changed, good. you can see just some rubber strips in there. From factory, the rubber inserts have little knobs that stick out here that keep it in place, but I mean, that is as solid as it'll get. And there's the welder. That magically appeared too. It's definitely not the next day or anything like that. So now if you've done a few click transitions on YouTube, it just, you just get better and better. You can make more stuff appear. So yeah, that explains the welder. We'll get more into what welder I got and why a little bit later on. So before that, next step, we're gonna wire up the thermo fans. To get this engine running and running up to temperature, we're gonna get the thermo fans wired up, get them functioning correctly. And once they're done, move back to the exhaust, set up the welder. We should be right to start her up, run her up to temperature, get it properly dialed in, and see how it sounds with the Nissan Patrol exhaust, I guess. Alright, so to wire up the cooling fans, set up the relay, need to route the headlight section of the wiring harness, because the cooling fan relay wire is in here. So I don't really want to go ahead and wire that up and then realize I have to cut that short or something, because as you can see, there's a bit of excess length. So, I'm going to go through, route this in the right way, see where it ends up, and run the wires to the respective headlights, parker lights, turn signals, etc. and see where I can get the relay mounted.
So I've got to say that routing this wiring took absolute ages, because I'd get the wires in an area where I thought they were good and then find out there's a better route for some of the wires to go through to get to where they needed to go. So I'd have to peel it all back, get all the tape back off the insulation and route the wires the way that best suited. And that took absolutely ages. I cut a lot of it out. You're really seeing a time lapse of the quicker bits. So this actually took quite a long time, but in the end, it looks absolutely sick because it's all blacked out. It's all wrapped, which I don't think you see here because I ran out of the shroud, but later on in the video, I get some more shroud, wrap it all up, and it's all blacked out and OEM as fuck.
Alright, so got the relay mounted down there next to the radiator. So the plan is run this to the temperature switch, which is right there, by routing it underneath the radiator hose, keeping the wireless isotope of the engine bay. So we've got blue, which will connect to the fans, and then earth out on the other side. We've got red, which will probably run underneath there, connect to the circuit breaker, which will be, maybe there, connecting to battery power. White, which is connecting to this wire here, which is your pretty much your relay activation, and black, which will route up along here underneath the coolant hose and to the actual switch. Alright, and a little while later, it's all done. Got these two wires up here. I just need like a heat-proof shrouding to go around them and they'll run down there. But other than that, it's all pretty well hidden. Well, thermofans are all hooked up. They're just dangling down now because I've got a clamp for them, but I haven't put it on yet. I'll show you what it looks like from below. Alright, so we've got power running into one, splicing off into the second, same with the earth. And the earth going there, power wire running across there. So still yet to group these together and put some shroud on them, which I'll probably do that right now. I just want to get it hooked up so it's functioning. Ugh. If I spend all this time trying to get it to look perfect, I'm never going to get the bloody thing going. So thermofan's hooked up. At the same time, I've done all the wiring for the headlights, parker lights, indicators, everything else. Indicator and marker lights come down there. So we have here indicator, marker light, or indicator, marker light. The spotlight and the headlight plugs, same over here. So that's all looking fantastic. You can barely see it, it's all blacked out. All clamped into place. Looks very nice. So that's pretty much done skis. Still yet to mount the electronic door popper, which will go here, and that is something that you just get in central locking kits, where it just goes up and down to lock and unlock your car. I'm going to be using that to tilt up and down the headlights. So that'll probably mount about here, and both the headlight arms and landauers come through here, and that'll go and turn those 90 degrees and open and close the headlights. So that'll run off the low beam power. But doesn't need to be done now. Don't need to be messing around with that. So now that that's all done, thermothans are all hooked up. Let's unbox this welder and get this exhaust on. Already unboxed the helmet because I found some stickers that I needed to slap on it. So had to get the stickers on the helmet ASAP. Here's the bit of kit that I got. The Viper 165 bundle. Wasn't going to get this, was going to get the Viper 195, the one with the fancy touchscreen and everything like that. That was like $1,600 or something like that. But then I walked into Sydney Tools and they had the 165 bundle, which comes with a TIG torch, MIG and everything. And it was only like $890. So saves me buying a TIG torch later on down the track. Comes with the helmet, the gloves, some TIG accessories, TIG torch, little MIG starter kit, some MIG wire, and of course, Viper 165, which has the MIG torch and all that sort of jazz in it. And the trolley, because I don't want to be carting this thing around and making the place look uncouth.
Uncouth. Let me say something. Let me just say something. Yeah, like, oh, they determine what's couth and uncouth.
I guess first things first, let's get the trolley set up and start putting the shit on you so I can get this exhaust system done. Alright, so welder's set up, looking beautiful, and I've just gone right ahead and done an absolute abortion of an exhaust job. Like I said, I needed it to extend out from the extractors. Now, the extractors were already cooked, they're already getting replaced. I don't care about them, so I've just welded on a 3-inch pipe to there and then put a little connector and done all that, and that one was 2 1/4 inch, so I've put some 2 1/4 inch pipe there and bloody welded that, and that goes into here and and I accidentally cut that too short, so I had to put on another bit. It's all going on. Now I've done those up pretty tight, but it's still bowing out, so I'm still gonna get some leakage there. Mind you, I'm gonna get leakage out of everywhere, but I mean, look at the size of that bloody thing. It doesn't even fit under the car. So that should muffle it enough that I can at least run it up and get it running to temperature. So let's reconnect the battery, see how we go. Right, I haven't run it since the last time that you seen on the last video where I literally ran it for like 15 seconds. So let's see what happens.
Twenty minutes later.
Alright, so post-damage report. A little bit of an oil leak, that's coming from the oil sender, thank God. There's no thread tape on the oil sender, oil pressure sender. That's coming from that. But a little bit of coolant coming from, oh actually, thank God. Looks like it's leaking from up there. I think that's on the thermostat. Or it might be dropping, oh no, it's dropping from the sender. Alright, cool. Other than that, rocket cover gaskets are the old ones. I've reused those and those are cooked. They're leaking oil, that's what a lot of that smoke was. So we got, can't really see it, but oil leaking at the back of the rocket covers. There you can see a pool of oil where the pressure sender has been leaking. So a bit of thread tape on that. I think it's leaking from the secondary bit on the coolant pressure sender, so a bit of thread tape on that bit. And I guess the exhaust did its job. It sounded like absolute shit, but it was a lot quieter. smoke alarm went off, so I had to disconnect the smoke alarm. Got the fan going now. It smells like absolute shit in here, but that's the end of that. Thanks for watching, guys. We're making some real progress on the ute now, so please give us a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because we're just pumping out progress on this thing now. And soon, it'll be the XC's time to get some love, but not yet. We're making too much progress on the XA. So I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. And don't buy project cars, just buy finished cars. That's my wisdom. Don't buy projects, just get them finished. Don't waste your time.